Hi, Johnny. Let's take a look at your new essay, shall we? Let's see. This is about fathers staying at home with their children while women go out and work. Let's see what you wrote here. Experts throughout both the developing and developed world are concerned about the increasing number of stay-at-home dads and the number of moms who, you need a who here, who work as breadwinners. This essay will discuss some reasons for this, and I strongly believe that it has brought some positive developments, you need an S here, to the children. Okay, so no major problems. Let's move on with that. There is ample evidence that supports the idea that a stay-at-home father brings more benefits to the family. The central reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, dads decide to take care of their children when they have no jobs and could save a large amount of money from not sending their baby to a daycare center. Secondly, when mothers have more educational attainment than fathers, it increases women's earning potential and makes a couple choose, without the two, to choose a stay-at-home father family. For example, recent empirical research by the UK government demonstrated that a 1% increase in the male unemployment rate at the state level would cause an 8% increase in the likelihood that a household becomes a stay-at-home father family. Therefore, it is conclusively clear that a family becomes financially more solvent when it has a stay-at-home dad. Okay, this paragraph was supposed to talk about the reasons why men are staying at home while women are going out to work. I just want to make sure that I understand. You said here that if the father has no job, they stay home to take care of the child, thus saving the family a lot of money. Okay, that's fine. You might have been able to say one additional sentence about it, but it was all right. And then you said that women, when they have more education than men, earn more money, or they can earn more money. Therefore, it makes sense to have the father stay at home. Let's see. Now, here's the problem. Let's take a look at this. Here's where you talked about the father having no job, right? But this proof right here really refers to that first argument. So look what you did here. You have central idea, you have, not central idea, let me try that again. You have main idea 1, main idea 2, and then you have support for your reason 1. So I don't really agree with this kind of progression of ideas. It makes a lot more sense when you say your idea and then you support your idea. So in other words, this sentence really needed to go over here before you started that word secondly, because this is where you talk about fathers having no jobs and then you explain it. It makes a lot more sense to do it rather than have idea 1, have idea 2, and then all of a sudden you have this support for idea 1. It's not completely logical. So it should go back up there where I suggested before this word secondly. Now, having said that, we have to then ask ourselves, well, what did you do to support this thing here about the women's earning potential? What are you telling us here, basically? You're telling us that when women have more education, they can earn more money and make a couple choose a stay-at-home father family. Why? What if the father also has a high income or also has a high education? So I felt like you really kind of skipped a whole bunch of logic here, and you just kind of drew this conclusion that for me needed to have more said. So what do I mean? Let's see, it increases women's potential. Maybe you want to have a compared to that of the man. Therefore, it makes sense for the family to have the man stay at home, maybe with a child. But also, even here you could say a little more. Many families really place a priority on having one of the two parents stay at home. So they decide that it's the person who earns the most is the person who should work, and the person who earns less should stay at home. So there really needs to be a little more extension of this idea. I thought you were on the right track, but it needed definitely a little more extension for me. Okay? All right, so I think we talked about that paragraph quite a bit. Let's take a look at your next one. Along with the given opportunity of earning and saving more money, comma, a stay-at-home father has also brought some positive changes to the youngsters. Okay, this is largely because a stay-at-home dad family. This is largely because a stay-at-home dad family. That's a little awkward. A stay-at-home dad family. One way you can do this is if you have a hyphen between all these words. So stay hyphen at hyphen home hyphen dad. But it's still a little awkward. There are other ways to say this that I think maybe flow a little better. Maybe this is largely because a family where the father stays at home. Okay, maybe it's a better way of saying it like that. Children feel more secure without that D and motivated. This is because. Okay, you can't start a sentence with because. You're not supposed to, at least. Grammatically, it's considered incorrect. This is because a man is usually stronger than a woman, and as a result, a child feels more protected when he or she goes to school with his father. Furthermore, when a girl grows up with a stay-at-home dad and sees her mother working in a high-paid job, it inspires her to build a successful career in the future. For instance, an extensive study by Oxford University showed that children growing up with a stay-at-home dad are more courageous and achieve better grades compared to the children at a stay-at-home mom household. Thus, it is possible to state beyond doubt that a child could experience more security and better encouragement when they grow up with a stay-at-home dad. Okay, this was all right. I thought that there were a number of grammatical mistakes, especially in that first half of the paragraph. You could see that I had to correct quite a bit here in terms of grammar. But I thought your development was okay. You talked about, it was very clear that you were going to talk about the positives of this trend. I liked your second half. The first half, maybe you could have been a little more convincing. So what were you telling us? That a child feels more protected when he or she goes to school with his father? Why? Because children feel unprotected when they go to school with their mother? I didn't really think it was the most plausible argument you could have had. I thought there were other things that you could have said here. And there are lots. Like, what are the benefits of living, of spending time with your father at home? I mean, there are millions of things that you could have said. I'm not going to suggest that you should have written something over something else, but I thought there were other things that would have been a little more plausible here. Okay. From the arguments and examples given, it can be said that unemployment and costs cut. I don't know what you mean here. And no, cost cutting is, I think, what you're trying to say, are the key reasons for a family to choose a stay-at-home father household, which ultimately helps children to become more ambitious and protective. Protective? I don't think you mean this either. I don't think the children are becoming more protective. I think they feel more protected, according to what you said, although I already told you that I thought you could have had an argument that was a little stronger. All right, it was a good essay overall. I did like a lot of it, but as you could see, we did have to correct a number of things. We had to work a little bit on your task achievement. We had to work a little bit on your grammar, especially in certain areas where it seems like there were a lot of mistakes all kind of thrown together. So I really, really, really want you to work on those, okay? All right, let's take a look at your letter to the company that did your house move and what they did. Dear Sir, I am writing to make a complaint about the service I received from your company. Last week I hired your service for shifting. No. We don't say shifting my stuff. Shifting and stuff are really informal, so we want to avoid them in this context. This is a formal letter for sure, so let's change it. Last week I hired your service to transfer my personal belongings from an old apartment to a new flat, but unfortunately I found some of them broken when they arrived in my new residence. Perhaps it happened just because of poor handling, which was really disappointing. I like that, but I do want you to be a little more convincing that you think it was their fault. So rather than saying perhaps it happened, you can say I am certain it happened because of poor handling. All right, let's move on. I packed my items, or again, stuff is really informal and it's really rather vague. So I packed my personal items nicely in different boxes, and each of them contains valuable items such as antique plates, glasses, bowls, and some expensive showpieces with an S. While unpacking boxes at the new address, I was shocked to see a few items were broken. In addition, I found a big scratch on my TV screen, and a leg of my dining room table was broken. I would strongly recommend that you find out the cause of what happened in my case and take some initiatives against laborers that were involved in the transportation. Since we had an agreement that if any items were damaged during transit, a reimbursement would be given by the company. No. This was good, and I thought this was such a nice sentence until I got to the end of it. It's missing something, so we have to fix it. Get rid of the since. Start with we. We had an agreement that if any items were damaged during transit, a reimbursement would be given by the company. So, I would like to get a full refund as a compensation for my broken items. For your understanding, the list of damaged, with a D, goods, and their market price has been sent to your address. I look forward to hearing from you at the earliest. Okay. Now, it's Dear Sir. So, the correct sign-off here is yours faithfully, not regards. Regards is okay only if you know the name of the person you are writing to. Since you wrote Dear Sir, clearly you don't, so you have to change that. I felt that there were a lot of really wonderful elements to this letter, but there were also a lot of areas that I had to correct, and so I didn't feel like your grammar was particularly consistent throughout the letter. There were some very good areas, but there were some areas that had a number of errors. You covered everything. So as far as task achievement is concerned, I thought you did well. So I think it's essentially just grammar and vocabulary that were a little problematic. I'd like to see more consistent accuracy in your writing. If you're aiming for one of those high scores, which I believe you are aiming, I want to see more consistent accuracy. You can have a lot of high-level grammar, but if it's not accurate, it's not going to help you get one of those high scores, okay? So try to work on those areas, and we'll meet back here with your next set of essays. Good luck.